big news that came in from India's military. After a 10-month wait, the government of India has finally appointed its second CDS. Lieutenant General Anil Chauhan, who retired last year, is India's new Chief of Defence Staff. Now, do remember that 10 months ago, General Bipin Rawat, who was India's first CDS, had died in a tragic air crash. Post that, the hunt was on for a new CDS. There was much speculation on who it would be, and then the government in June this year went ahead and changed rules that said that a retired senior officer could also be made CDS. So rules were changed to open up the race to retired officers as well. But how will this work is a question that will be asked. Just, a quick word about General Chauhan. He's held several command and staff and instrumental appointments, has extensive experience in counter-insurgency operations in Jammu and Kashmir and northeast of India, comes from Calcutta, has been the Director General of Military Operations and was commissioned into the 11 Gorkha Rifles of the Indian Army in 1981. Went to the NDA, IMA, has had a spectacular, stellar, decorated service of almost 40 years. I'm going straight across to Lieutenant General Atta Hasnain, who's joining us on the broadcast. General Hasnain, thank you very much for your time here on Mirror Now. I first want to ask you about what you think of the government's pick. It has come 10 months after, General Bipin Rawat's tragic death. What do you make of this wait and the man who's been appointed to the post?
Shreya, thank you, first of all, for having invited me to this program. And I start by expressing my regret at the loss of my very dear friend, the former Chief of the Defence Staff, General Rawat. Happened in a very tragic incident last year. But having said that, yes, 10 months have passed. This choice is I think it was a veering towards an automatic choice. There are various reasons. You have just read out General Chauhan's profile. If I may add to it, he's one of those few officers of the Indian Army with a very, very balanced profile. He's commanded the same division which I commanded, the Dagger Division in Baramulla. He's commanded the corps at Dimapur, 3 Corps. He's been the DGMO of the Indian Army. And besides that, staff appointments he has held galore, in which huge responsibilities have been on his head. He is a China-focused, China-oriented person, being the Army Commander of the Eastern Command for a fairly long time. And then for the last few months, he has been the military advisor in Delhi, which obviously has put him into the right orientation too. So I really saying with the tweaking of the rules that the government has done, I couldn't really put my fingers to anyone better than this choice. And that is why he's got my thumbs up completely. I think intellectually, cognitively, he's got all the faculties, the right faculties. Many times it happens, you have senior officers with lots and lots of battle experience and CIE experience and things like that, but a lesser degree of involvement in the intellectual domains of management of the armed forces. Here, he has a very, very balanced one. This is something very heartening, very, very heartening.
So he has your thumbs up. But my next question and my last question, I hope you can answer it as honestly as possible, as you always do, General Hasnain. We know that the military is pretty hung up on hierarchy. So how does this work? Lieutenant General Chauhan retires as a Lieutenant General. Now, he will be the boss to 3 generals. Technically, in rank, the 3 service chiefs are higher than him. How does this work? How will it work?
See, Shreya, the values of the Indian Armed Forces are such that a person who is even 1 number senior to you is senior to you. I will serve a person who is 1 number senior to me. So this doesn't really make a difference. And I think the government has given time for this to adjust itself up. If they had gone within a week of tweaking the rules, that they had gone and announced this, perhaps there may have been some oddities and awkwardities here and there. But no, they've given time. They've given time to settle down. General Chauhan is almost a year and a half senior to all 3 chiefs, right? He may have retired, right? But he retired as the Army Commander, Eastern Command, and then he has been also in this appointment of the military advisor, which incidentally is equivalent to a Secretary Government of India, which is what is the normal status which is given. Of course, the CDS as a slightly higher status in this particular case. I foresee no problems at all in this, at all. In fact, from a professional, social, hierarchical angle, I think the Indian armed forces know how to adjust themselves to this kind of seniority issues.
All right.
Maybe some other armed forces in the world may have had this problem. I can see this problem across our line of control on the other side. But no, not here, not on our side at all. This is seniority being respected completely.
Okay, General Hasnan, always good to get your perspective on military matters. Thank you very much. The gentleman on your screens right now, Lieutenant General Anil Chauhan, had retired last year, has now been picked by the Government of India as India's second CDS. General Hasnan, thank you very much for your time here on Mirror.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'm slipping into a quick break on the show. There's more coming up on the other side. Do stay with us.
OLX ऑटोस ही देता है आपकी कार का बेस्ट प्राइस।
क्या बात कर रहे हो? यही कि OLX ऑटोज ही देता है आपकी कार का बेस्ट प्राइस। ये प्राइस नहीं, सरप्राइज है। विजिट olxautos.in।
इतना मैजेस्टिक कैनवस, कितना मैग्निफिसेंट बैकड्रॉप,
larger than life.
Presenting Hindware Italian Collection Tiles.
2 साल में रेट रॉकेट 100%।
क्या भाई साहब, गेट सही प्राइस ट्रेंड्स at 99acres.com। घर लेना हो या बेचना, एक्सपर्ट से ही पूछना। 99acres.com।
At 9 p.m. on Nation Tonight, I'll get your power-packed bulletin of the day's top stories. Only news, no noise and no distractions. We'll tell you about PFI, the organization that's been banned by the government for 5 years. We'll also put the spotlight on Congress crisis in Rajasthan. What happens when Ashok Gehlot meets the Congress leadership? And climate change watch. Swiss glaciers have lost 6% of their volume in 2022, according to a study. We'll talk about the ramifications. Stay tuned to Mirror Now.
Welcome back. You're watching Urban Debate. Now, the festive season is upon us. And in that spirit, the Government of India has extended the free ration scheme by another 3 months. Now, the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojna was announced in April 2020 at the peak of the COVID crisis. It was a response to the extreme economic shock that the pandemic had dealt the poor. Now, under the scheme, 5 kgs of free ration are given per person per month, and 80 crore people have benefited because of it. But did the scheme really need to be extended for a 7th time, as it has been today? Is it an economic necessity or a political deployment to win the Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh elections? Now, the Prime Minister, not very long ago, in fact, on the 16th of July, had spoken very strongly against the Revadi culture. Does an extension of the scheme expose doublespeak on behalf of the BJP? Or can we argue that rations cannot be equated with Revadi? First, listen in to what the Prime Minister had said, and then we begin our debate.
आजकल हमारे देश में मुफ्त की रेवड़ी बांटकर वोट बटोरने का कल्चर लाने की भरसक कोशिश हो रही है। ये रेवड़ी कल्चर देश के विकास के लिए बहुत घातक है। इस रेवड़ी कल्चर से देश के लोगों को और खास करके मेरे युवाओं को बहुत सावधान रहने की जरूरत है। रेवड़ी कल्चर वाले कभी आपके लिए नए एक्सप्रेसवे नहीं बनाएंगे, नए एयरपोर्ट।
My guest this evening, Vineet Goenka, spokesperson of the BJP. We have Vijay Sardana, who's an economic policy expert. Ghanshyam Tiwari is the national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, and A. Saravanan is spokesperson of the DMK. For obvious reasons, I'm going to start this discussion with Vineet Goenka. Vineet Goenka, over the last few days, the finance minister of this country has told us कि सब चंगा है. Things are well with the economy. Look at the GST collections. They've been superb, record-breaking for the month of October. You will cross that record as well. Inflation is under control. The GDP is doing fine. Now, if the economy is doing that great, where is the need to extend the free ration scheme for a 7th time?
you and everybody who's on the show and the audience. And I congratulate you to take this very important and pertinent question, which has been there in everybody's mind. When utilization of the taxpayers' money has been done with an intention for social welfare and to pass benefits and to bring parity between haves and have-nots, I think the intentions are very good. And I congratulate and I'm very proud that I'm part of the Bharatiya Janata Party, where the Prime Minister has extended this scheme. Post-COVID, opportunities were lost. Families were disturbed. Many of the people had to go back to their roots. Some of them changed their locations, and this created somewhat uncomfort to the people. Yes, post-COVID, the economy has jumped back, and I congratulate Finance Minister and everybody who has worked very hard to achieve this particular part. But yet, we have to remember one thing. There are thousands and crores of people who require the nutritional security, which is one, guaranteed by our own morals, two, also supported by legislation. I think the intention is very good here. When we extend the scheme, we also think about the poor and the have-nots who cannot afford 4 square meal. They cannot afford the nutritional requirements which are there. And this is for the healthy India, better India. And I congratulate them.
Okay, great. Great. So you're saying this is for a better India. This is to meet India's nutritional needs. So do we understand that the situation in the country is such that the poor in this country are not in a position to go earn out their living and buy their own food? And just by the way, I just want to, say this to our viewers, that we already have a Food Security Act. And under this Food Security Act, there is heavily subsidized ration that in any case is given to the poor. So this free ration scheme, the Pradhan Mantri Yojna, is over and above that. So Mr. Goenka, do we sort of deduce from your argument that all is not well with the economy, all is not well because the government is having to extend free rations to the poor even after the pandemic is over and even when the economy, we were told, is doing well?
See, let me tell you one thing. The economy is doing well, and if you see the number of employment and the employment ratio and the inflation, all the indicators are positive. Whilst having said that, what you would like to do is to run the meal of the economy in a better way, remove the attention of the bread earner from the basic nutritional need. And I think that is one intention which is behind this extension of the scheme. When I see people from far-flung areas, from the geographies which would not have got that benefits which you and I have got in these cities, in the air-conditioned room, which we both are sitting right now, probably there is a need to do this. There may be a brother of mine who would have gone back to job, he would have got his business, his opportunity, his employment after the COVID period. Okay. But yet it is our responsibility as a welfare state to extend this particular part. And let me tell you one thing, these are thoughtful things with budgetary provisions and also backups of the economy. And for a future where we would like to see our citizens who are healthy, non-parasitic on the health system.
Okay.
I think probably this is necessary.
You have made your point. So if it's so necessary, even when the economy is doing well and the poor can go out and earn their own bread, are we to assume and imagine that the BJP is going to extend this scheme forever and say that this scheme is here to stay? Ghanshyam Tiwari, you are national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Do you buy the argument that Vineet Goenka is giving us?
You would like me to answer or Ghanshyam ji will answer this?
No, Ghanshyam ji will have to answer, na? Ghanshyam Tiwari, can you hear me? Okay, you know what we'll do? We'll fix Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari's audio there and go to Mr. Saravanan, who's already raised his hand. Mr. Saravanan, go ahead, please, and we'll fix Mr. Tiwari's audio in just a bit. Go ahead.
It's fixed on my side.
Mr. Saravanan, you will have to unmute yourself.
Okay, so I'm.
Let's see if you're fine.
I'm fine.
Are you fine?
Am I fine?
Yeah, great. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think the free ration scheme is a great scheme because we introduced this in the year 2006. We said we'll give 1 kg rice for 1 rupee, and due to which there was no hunger deaths in the state of Tamil Nadu at all after that. So this is a great scheme, no doubt about that. Irrespective of what the BJP claims, vis-a-vis what it has done for the economy, I think this scheme should continue to ensure that there is no shortage of food, there is no dearth of food for the common man. Because in Tamil, we have the saying,
தனி ஒருவனுக்கு உணவில்லை எனில் ஜகத்தினை அழித்திடு. It means if there is not food for a single man, let us destroy this world. So food is a very, very important thing. So on those terms, this scheme should be there in perpetuity, irrespective of the economic growth or whatever. So let us not bring that into this debate at all. Now I congratulate the BJP spokesperson because he, with a straight face, congratulated the finance minister for her excellent performance. The excellent performance is felt by the common man. We all know who is the second richest man and how many people have slipped to below the poverty line during the COVID. So that speaks about the economy. And you asked a very, very pertinent question. So how this scheme is announced by the BJP government when the Prime Minister, none less than the Prime Minister, has come heavily against this freebie culture. So what is a freebie? Has anyone dared to define from the BJP what is a freebie, what is a welfare scheme, or what is a subsidized scheme, what is good for them or what is not good for them? So it clearly establishes the duplicitous claim of the Prime Minister. He has made those claims that we should do away with this freebie culture, Revadi culture and whatever and whatnot only because of political gimmickry. It has got no economic basis. It has got no social basis. So the Prime Minister comes out as hypocritical on the teeth of what the government is doing now.
Vijay Sardana, is this, Mr. Vijay Sardana, is this double speak then by the Prime Minister on the Revadi culture, that you say one thing and you go and do exactly the opposite, and you do it with an eye on elections in Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat? Now, of course, you can argue that, madam, in this country, every second month there is an election and there is forever an election and this country is forever in election mode. But that being besides the point, is this the Prime Minister's and the BJP government's double speak on Revadi?
Now, see, first of all, good evening to all of you.
Good evening.
Now, see, it's a very, very sensitive and serious matter. We have to appreciate that in India, there is almost 20-30% people below poverty line. We have a nutritional challenge. Now, this situation becomes more complex when there is an inflation. So when we are talking about welfare scheme versus freebies, see, there are two ways to look at it. If you are giving something which is essential for survival, for example, nutrition, that is food. Now, we have also noticed, if you look into economic theories also, that when the inflation goes up, intake of food goes down, the malnutrition goes up, other side effects of malnutrition, including health deterioration, goes up. When input is down, the same labor force productivity goes down. So if you look at today's scenario, yes, there was a need to increase the support for some people. But my way of looking here is that, yes, if Government of India can tweak the justification, or I will say the entitlement of the free ration, if everyone who was getting during COVID time again getting the same thing, then I think there is no justification. But yes, some of them, those who got the jobs, those who got back to their assignments, and now they are back on track, those should be excluded. Otherwise, those who are suffering, those who are covered by food security mission, we have to address them. Those who are having deprivation of the livelihood and also suffering from inflation, we must support them. So there is a need to recalibrate instead of having everything the way it was during COVID time.
Okay, so the government today has said that the number of beneficiaries remains the same. The scheme was started in 2020, 80 crore people were covered, 80 crore beneficiaries were covered, and the government says those 80 crores will continue to be covered. What you are saying, Mr. Vijay Sardana, is this, that the scheme then needs to be tweaked. People who were badly off, all people who were badly off in 2020 or 2021, they may not necessarily be badly off now, and maybe they can do without the scheme and without the free rations, so you need to recalibrate it. I understand that. Then Ghanshyam Tiwari, come in here. One of the arguments that Mr. Vijay Sardana is also making is that you cannot compare rations to Revadi. That there is a freebie culture in this country. Good evening. There is a freebie culture in this country. But for heaven's sake, ration is something basic. Ration is something that is pro-poor, and therefore the two cannot be equated. So there is no double speak here. There is no election ka, motive here. This is just a pro-welfare scheme. Good evening, good to see you.
Good evening to you, the viewers and fellow co-panelists. As far as the double speak is concerned, our Prime Minister by hands down beats any Prime Minister in the subcontinent on the lies that he has told and that have unfolded, from black money to doubling the farm income. So double speak is not just limited to this one thing. That's one. Second, you just add the various data points that are emerging. India consistently is slipping on the global hunger index under this Prime Minister who promised Achhe Din Aayenge. If you look at the inequality in India, that is continuously rising, except the handful of businessmen that are close to this government who are in their bid to become the richest persons in the universe. Third, if you look at the Manrega demand, that continues to remain very, very high, which means that the youth, the poor in this country are more and more dependent on the government to run their livelihoods. Four, if you look at the way the COVID stuck to schools, children, especially those children who are from poor communities going to government schools, it has led to a specter of illiteracy. Every survey tells you that there's a learning loss and this government has done nothing. The education minister have not even spoken the word learning loss. So you measure the performance of this government on any scale: inequality, jobs, malnutrition, education, and then this government says over here that unemployment is not a problem. We are doing fantastic. If you look at the unemployment numbers, the Business Standard published the data that September 1, the unemployment is record high this month. So in the face of data, if this government is saying that inflation doesn't worry us, unemployment doesn't worry us, and this is not Revadi. By the way, we are giving the ration and the free to 80 crore people. These are the people for which the member of parliament in this government said, "Thank you, Modi ji, कहना पड़ेगा," as if Mr. Modi ji is giving it from his own pocket. The reality is this government is keeping the poor on the leash and making the country poor. What is this whole tamasha of increasing it every 3 months, as if people are going to go hungry 3 months later? If the government does not know how to curtail hunger, how to turn around economy, have the guts, have the confidence to say that this scheme will continue till the economy reaches a certain level, or till malnutrition reaches a certain level.
Vinit Goenka, tell us now, is this scheme going to extend till 2024 and possibly beyond as well?
Even if I disagree with Ghanshyam ji, let me thank him that he has taken the debate to a various this. None of his points were valid, but yet I remember 4th September 2008, the RBI came out with a report in which talked about access to safe, easy money and banking. And when I was reading this report in 2008, I thought that, oh my God, there were not even 1/3 of Indians who were accessing the banking and the benefits of banking. That may be because of cost of banking, that may be because of access to banking, because of geography or anything else.
Mr. Goenka, we are not talking about banking.
I'm not coming on that. I'm coming on that.
We are not talking about that. I don't have time. Please quickly make your point.
I'm coming on that. I'm coming. So like Ghanshyam ji took me everywhere on the earth. Let me come on tell you. But one thoughtful scheme of giving access to Janadhan access and 45.21 crore people coming on the banking gave us a lot of confidence. 1, 2, empowered the women, reduced the poverty, and also access to financial thing. And to let me tell you more schemes which the government has done.
No, Mr. Vinit Goenka, we understand that you've done your research, and I understand that. I asked you a simple question, you have not responded to it. I'll give the last word to Mr. Saravanan. Mr. Saravanan, there are some experts who have said that this scheme will end after 2024. Is that your sense as well?
See, that's what, as I told you, I think this is a great scheme. This should not end at all. This should continue in perpetuity.
But can we afford it? But can we afford it? That's the question.
Yes, we should be able to see that should be the growth. Our economy should be able to handle that. If you impose a wealth tax and an inheritance tax,
a wealth tax of 2% and an inheritance tax of 50%, and we'll be able to feed everyone in this country.
Yes. Okay, Shreya, just a minute.
Mr. Saravanan, 20 seconds. Mr. Vinit Goenka.
Just a minute, 50 seconds.
20 seconds, go ahead.
Shreya, the reason why the consumer price inflation is down in the state of Tamil Nadu is because of this ration. We have a strong ration scheme. That is one of the biggest reasons. That is why our consumer price inflation is lower, one of the biggest reasons. So if this scheme, we have a strong ration across the country, probably that will control inflation.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. We could have spoken about this a little more, I know that, but there is a shocking video that is coming to us from Bihar. And it's so compelling that I'm having to cut short this discussion. Thank you very much. And I urge you to see this video that is coming to us. This is